Hello and welcome. Okay, thank you to Ray Williams for telling me what this uniform actually is, what the time period is, and what army it actually belonged to. So we found out that it is a REM officer uniform from the 1950s, and it is a part of the British Army. So I was able to go onto the internet and actually search for images where I've gone through and taken parts of images to what we want to do is recomposite and build the actual uniform. So I have brought them in. We have the arm details, as you can see here, and we can see it here on the image. So we're going to use that to rebuild that arm. We have another base uniform. It had the right angle to it. I was hoping to use this as a composite and bring over, blend it in, and then correct the areas that are wrong. But unfortunately, the quality of this is just too bad, so we're not going to be able to do that. We have another uniform, which I was going to use. Another one again. And then we have a texture map of a face. And the reason for this is another way to do skin textures. I thought I'd walk you through at the same time. So we come over to our image, and I want to show you that overlay of the face. There it is there. Now what we go through and do is we stretch this face and manipulate it whilst it's on a transparent layer so we can see the face underneath. It does get confusing jumping back and forth, but all we're doing is we're moving this, and what we want to try to do is line it up with a section. The nose is ideal, and we want to manipulate it until all the features come down and they blend in. And once we've done that, we can go on to our next layer, where I have brought the opacity down and I have erased parts of the face that we don't want, because all we want to do is we want to keep these textures. The fact that these are heavy works really well on the photo because we're dropping that opacity down, and that's going to really help blend it in and keep us with those details. So we've gone through, erased the eyes, the mouth, parts of the nose that we aren't using, and we've lined up the areas of the shadows. So once we've done that, all we have to do is blend it in. So again, the opacity has come down to the 30%. And then all I have done is I've gone through and I have used the clone brush to bring it in. So the areas that don't fit, fit. So they're up against the corners of the face, around the mouth, areas of the eyes which were not filled in after we have done the eraser. And that has given us a texture on the face, so we can see from the before to the after. Now I have redone this face prior, so this is just a show how instead of using textures and layers to build up skin tones, that you can quickly throw over a composite of a face to also very quickly rebuild details, frown lines, wrinkles, imperfections in the skin to build it up. Once we've done that, we need to tone it in because obviously the tone isn't quite going to match. So in this case, what I've done is I've taken a color, just a sample color from about here. I've created that tone map, and I have brought in the shadows, the ears, around the lip lines, the eye lines, whatever's needed to actually bring that in. Okay. So that's the skin color, sorry, that's the tone there. So, and all that's brought in. And we come on to the arm details. The hand so we can move around. I have copied that image, pasted it as a new layer. It's obviously too small, so we go through and we enlarge that layer and we flip it. But flipping it, we're going to have to come through and copy just these details here by themselves. And we're going to flip them, and then we're going to manipulate them to fit. So I have already done that. There's the flipped layer again. And all I've done is I've gone through and erased the outside very lightly to bring it all together. Once that's done, I have used the Control key to duplicate those layers, and then I have merged them as the selected layers. So those merged selected layers have created this layer here, which I have brought down in the opacity so I can see where I'm moving it, and I have moved it to fit the lines that are required. Once I have done that, I have brought that opacity all the way back up, and I have erased the parts of the image that I don't actually need. So here we can see that we have brought it in, so it's just sitting over top, fixing up that lost information. There it is. Okay, then we want to move on to the retexturing this. I think you guys are going to love this one. I've gone through and I've actually taken a sample of this, and I've used Gigapixel AI to upscale that to a nice large layer, and then I have taken that's my fabric there. I've created the fabric and I've moved that over into the patterns. And from here, we are going to create a flood layer. So we're going to go new layer, because we want to get this fabric as close as we can to the original. So we're going to select that. Pattern layer, select. We're going to flood. Once we've flooded, we are going to hide all. Then we're going to put that back to white. We're going to come to our mask layer, and we're going to start painting to blend in. So this will take a moment. Might move that so it sits behind the arm detail. That will allow us, back to the mask, that will allow us to paint through without worrying about destroying that layer. Okay. Now we need to blend this as well, so we want the details of the actual fabric sitting behind what details there are to show through. So we're going to go on that, and we're just going to go overlay, which will make it darker, but that's okay, we'll fix that later. Okay, back to that mask layer. Ye boring bit for you guys. We're going to color that in. And the reason we're doing this layer like this is so we can just use the push brush to push into hard to get areas where if we paint we're going to go over parts that we don't want to. So we'll just go through. Nice and boring. This has given us our fabric. And we can now have a better restored image. Yep. When I was making items for The Sims 3, I've told you guys before I take photos, and when I was doing the 3D texture mapping, I'd actually just do composites of images to give that more realistic look. And coming into this photo restoration hobby, I've just continued with what I know with Paint Shop and what works for me, and for me that is using composites. And I've just manipulated it by creating the textures and so forth, and this is what we basically end up with. We end up with a rebuilt image using this method. Now I've looked on YouTube when I came into this, and I've only been in it for almost a month now, and I didn't really see anything like this. There's no one doing it, so I thought, well, you know, I'll hop on and make a couple of videos, since I got asked by some people on how it's done, and it's hard to sort of say how it's done. So here we go, that's our fabric. Now from there, I'm going to duplicate that quickly, and we're going to change that, and we're going to try to lighten it up. So we've got a dark layer, Usually it's something like screen. Yeah, screen probably will work, and we're just going to bring that down, so we want to blend that into here a bit darker. Kind of prefer that darker look on that uniform. We'll see. About there, I would say. Okay. So a bit too dark. Much better. And we painted behind this, which will probably work really well. I'm going to push that out of the way to blend it in. I might try to erase it and see, and colour those parts in behind it instead and recreate that fabric. Wonderful glitch. Okay. Come back to here. They're masks, so we'll need to paint on that mask layer. Come down. Better. That mask layer there. The colours. Okay. There we go. Now that underneath there, that's because there was something on his uniform. I don't know if it's meant to be there, but we're going to leave that. And that is our composited clothing back onto our person. Quick and easy. Fast to do using this method. And a new method for you guys that I also use sometimes to redo the face. When I did the face on this one, I actually used a person which was almost identical in looks. Had the identical nose, identical lips, identical one eye. The eyebrows were exactly the same. And that's what I used to composite over. And even though certain parts were the same, I still erased the eyes and the mouth and that to leave the original through. Because it's got more of that aged look of the photo, so it brings it together. So hopefully you guys find this video handy. This is how to use composites to help rebuild an image. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of these little tips and tricks that I'm doing, subscribe it and like it. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.